The presenting sponsor of Moon Tower Soccer is FVF Law.
To find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm, you can visit fvf.law. Hello, friends, and thanks for listening to Moon Tower Soccer. This week, our friend Adrian Healey is going to join us to discuss the Austin FC season to date, as well as help us preview the LAFC playoff series. I'm Jeremiah Bentley.
And I'm Mike Cragnola.
And I'm Adrian Healey.
Let's go. Close enough. We get through it without Landon, and I'm proud of us for it. Great work, boys.
Well, I think I had like sort of two different choices for what we might talk about tonight. But one, I mean, this is the last show we'll do before Halloween. In my house, that's because I had little kids that were like bright-eyed and loved their costumes and like love going trick-or-treating and stuff like that. Now they're like teenagers who are surly and barely shower and don't want to go do anything. So like this holiday has really changed in my house. But I was just curious for you guys, like, do y'all have any traditions? Like, are you like, it feels like the Halloween grows every year in terms of like importance and how many decorations I see and then the neighborhood and the like the things that people do. But just curious about your thoughts on this particular holiday.
Yeah, it's kind of taken over the world, isn't it, Mike? It really is. It's It's funny, growing up in the UK, it was not a thing at all. It just wasn't. I mean, it was just, it was October the 31st, it was Halloween, but no one did anything. And now, even over there, it's this massive, massive thing. But my favorite Halloween memory was actually from my living in Connecticut days, taking the kids around doing a classic trick-or-treating around in the neighborhood. But there's always one or two houses that we look forward to going to because they looked after the adults. They had the little shot glass trick-or-treats to hand out, little shots to help the grown-ups on their way. So that was very special. I'm sure it happens somewhere in Austin. If it happens in Connecticut, it must happen in Austin.
Yeah, for sure. They probably do the Texas two-step over here.
Right.
You get that shiner and the shot with it. So anybody who knows those neighborhoods, make sure to hit up Adrian and Jeremiah. Let them know. For me, it was always a holiday in New England where all of the punk bands would do like cover sets of famous other punk bands, right? Like you could go to 5 different Misfits cover set nights in like one night if you wanted to. And that was something that like I just assumed happened everywhere. So when I moved to Austin, there were like a couple of Misfits cover bands, and I was like, okay, there's like half as many as I'm used to, but it seems like that has gotten like less and less every year. Maybe I'm just getting older and older, and like I've aged out of the Halloween cover set scene, but it does seem like it is maybe less of a thing here than it was back home. But like I know all of my friends back home are currently knee deep in like practicing their covers for this weekend, right? One of my friends is in a Heart cover band this weekend. One of them is doing a Descendants cover band, and so like there's all like this concept of like the Halloween cover band is the thing that I really miss.
Yeah.
So Austin folks, if you're listening, bring it back.
Yeah.
Specifically for me.
I have friends in Boston who are in a Blondie cover band.
Yeah,
called Hey Blondie. But yes,
yeah.
Actually, they do. they actually do stuff year round as well. But they really go to town during Halloween. That's where they get the most bookings.
Yeah,
sure.
They do like every band will dress up as some other band and like at least play one cover song. But
yeah.
That reminds me, my most memorable Halloween story here in Austin is I used to go to this Halloween party. It was at the North Door, which is the place where the Austin FC made the logo announcement. And one year it was the Sugar Hill Gang played. But the year that I was like really excited about going to, Tone Loc was going to play. But the opening band was a cover band, and their like amp caught the stage on fire, and like we lit the North Bar on fire, and had to evacuate. Yeah. So there was no Tone Loc that night. The fire department did not let us back in. Tone Loc was supposed to go on at like midnight. So I got my one chance to ever see Tone Loc, and it died. And, surprisingly, they did not let us come back there. And that was also the last time that group of people was allowed to have a Halloween party anywhere.
I am actually going to a proper Halloween gig here in Austin on Friday. Stereolab is playing at the Far Out Lounge with the Viagra Boys, and I will be there, which will be fantastic. Yeah.
What a band. What a band name also.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
All right, let's
JB,
talk
you've
about
also
soccer.
got. I was going to say you've also got another note here that I really want us to dig into.
Do you want to get into this? Okay.
I don't want it to be an either or situation. I want to do
Okay.
both of these. I want to talk about what y'all think is Austin FC's biggest rival. Right now, there is a research project going on from some folks at UMass Lowell or UMass Amherst and another school who are trying to find out like where are the biggest rivalries in MLS. And so this was posted in the Austin FC Reddit group, and I am curious to hear y'all's perspectives. I know I've got a strong one myself, and so I'm looking forward to hearing what y'all think.
And are they more interested, Mike, in rivalries that aren't natural geographic ones? I mean, over and beyond local derbies, or are they, or do those count?
I think the question is just whatever you consider to be Austin's rival, whether that's a local, like whether that's the Texas teams, whether that's something else, right?
Yeah.
And so I think as fans, we kind of naturally think about the local ones, but
yeah, I mean, I still think FC Dallas, and I still go back to them not letting us celebrate on the pitch and out in the parking lot and everything that goes with it. And
yeah, for Copa Tejas back in, what was that, 22?
22. First trophy the club had ever won, albeit an unofficial one, but a very important one, the most important trophy in the world, as we know.
Amen. Only when we win it. Otherwise, right. Total garbage trophy.
But the FC Dallas rivalry has been there right from the word go. They don't like us, we don't like them. It's much more meaningful than the Houston rivalry. Now there are other Western Conference rivals, so I'm interested to hear what you guys think as well, because other teams do spring to mind. But I don't think anything for me tops FC Dallas or ever will, really.
So my head is also in that same place, that it's Dallas, and it's interesting that because the first Houston away game was the most controversial wheels off game I've ever been involved in, when like my then 14-year-old was ready to fight people in the streets and all that kind of stuff. But like that does seem to have deteriorated some. And I think Dallas, because we still have never beat them in Dallas, correct? Or in Frisco. Like that's super annoying. I mean, my heart says it's San Jose, because I feel like on the field, that's had the most crazy moments with Brad Stuver tackling a guy, and those games always seem unpredictable. And San Jose and Austin often seem close to each other in the playoff hunt. And there's some similarity like in the cities and the culture. So I'll not give one answer to my question. I will give two. I will agree with Adrian and also throw out San Jose.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going and following suit here. And I will say that I think San Jose is a great shout, from Julio rolling a player back onto the pitch after he had rolled off to like milk some time in our stadium, to even most recently this year with Mikael Dessler's high challenge on God,
can't remember. Was it there or here?
It was there. Christian Espinosa, the super high challenge on Espinosa, where he ended up having to get stitches. Like there's always something spicy in those games. But I was talking to one of our players during an event where they were out, and he was saying that for the club right now, their biggest rival, like on the field, is the LA Galaxy.
Really?
Galaxy coaches don't like Guilherme Biru. We've seen that on TV. Guilherme Biru loves to wind up all of those players. There's always fireworks every time we meet recently. I know, even in preseason, right? The Diego Fagundes and Svatak combat situation on the field. Like, there's always a moment that seems like it's just about to kick off in all of those matches. And so I think for me, it's between the three of these teams, right?
Yeah. I agree. I mean,
growing up, like, watching the Galaxy win all the time and getting all these like rules created for them so that they could be the best team in the league, I hate that team. And so like the fact that the players now hate this version makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I was going to touch upon that for this rivalry to really be the ultimate intense rivalry. It's got to involve some hatred. It's got to involve some real dislike across the board. I mean, is there a fan base? I think the problem is, as a fan base, we are very likable in Austin. So there's not too many fan bases that really despise our team. Maybe there are, and I'm just not aware of it. But I haven't. It doesn't seem to be that obvious to me, and with the exception maybe of Dallas, and their reasons for doing so are much more sort of obvious. But maybe the Galaxy fans hate us. That would be great if they did.
All right. Well, the bulk of the show is going to be about the LAFC preview. And Adrian, since we haven't had you on in a while, we want to get your thoughts on the season overall, and then maybe some perspective just on the history of this club, since you've been around for more than just about anybody. But I think if we're going to hit the high points of the week, so Austin's at the point where we're now the second best season in Austin FC history, basically no matter what, finishing sixth in the West, in the playoffs for the second time. So it's the second highest finish, second most points in club history, and a U.S. Open Cup final. Yet everybody feels angsty. Like I don't feel like there's a lot of joy out of what seems like maybe it's a season they should celebrate. So I don't know what that is. One, I don't know if you guys agree that you have the same sense, and then if you do, like why do you think we are where we are, and what should be a fairly celebratory week ahead for this club?
Yeah, I mean, with putting two different hats on, as a pure fan, putting my fan hat on, how can you not say that 2025 has been a distinct step up, an improvement from where we were for the previous two rather excruciating years under Josh Wolf. I mean, that's what I compare it to. So it's definitely a move on from that. We're back in the playoffs for the first time in 3 years. How can that not be a big thing? We made the Open Cup final. How can that not be great? So there's lots to kind of celebrate as a fan with my fan hat on. But then if I put my sort of very cool, calculated analyst hat on, it's not been great to watch, has it? It's not been fun. It's not been entertaining. It has been quite dull at times. Don't shy away from that. But that was kind of the way Nico Estevez has kind of set out his stall this season. We're gonna be tight. We're gonna improve defensively. We're not going to be as vulnerable at the back. He's achieved all of those things. I don't think that can be doubted. Even though numbers-wise, believe it or not, they only conceded 2 goals less than they did last year, which doesn't seem to be a huge improvement on paper, does it? But the eye test, I think, gentlemen, would tell us that was the big strength of the team, and perhaps that wasn't what we were expecting at the start of the year, given where we'd spent all the money. So that was a little bit of a surprise as an analyst, although perhaps it shouldn't have been, given Nico Estevez's track record with Dallas and where his priorities lie. I think we forgot about that a little.
Yeah, I think for me, objectively felt like a better season than we've become used to, I think, as an Austin FC fan. And I think the like flash in the pan success of 22 really kind of like colored a lot of what it meant to be a fan of this team when you kind of look at it as a representative like chunk of 5 years now. I think we're in a place where, to Adrian's point, like we're definitely better off. And we're not quite where we want to be yet, right? When your team finishes with a -8 goal differential and we're supposed to be a team that is like scoring all these goals, or at least like controlling the game, to sit back and bunker and like absorb so much pressure for so long of the season has been a bit of a challenge, I think, from the fan perspective, right? And then like I think it feels disingenuous to look at a 6th place finish and say this is good, because when you look at the teams who we lost to, even along the way of getting to this 6th place finish, those are like the big emotional games, right? We didn't do great against our in-state rivals this year. We didn't do great against like games where we thought the team might be up for it. Our biggest away matches of the year were like pretty tough experiences, Minnesota Open Cup semifinal aside, right? Like that San Diego match where we had 250 traveling fans who watched us just have zero answers in San Diego was really tough, right?
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of like memories that traveling fans and that fans who got together to watch the games at watch parties or in the stadium, like, are affected by in a way that like has an outsized influence on where we ended up in the standings.
Yeah. And on that point, if I can just put in on the standings, yes, a 6th place finish. How can we not celebrate that? I mean, I think in our season preview show, Jeremiah, if I remember accurately, we'll have to go back and check the tape. I think I said 5th place would be an achievement, and they nearly did that. However, if you look at it league-wide, I think we have to admit that Austin FC were very lucky to be in the Western Conference this year, because with the points total they finished up with, they would not have made the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference was that much better. I think there were 6 or 7 very poor teams in the West, and we can name them, aren't we? It's pretty much every team that finished below us was pretty poor. Managed to lose to some of them, but it was but it only took 41 points to make the playoffs in the West. That's one of the lowest totals ever. So we just need to temper that.
All the teams that finished in the playoff spots in the East got to play against DC, Atlanta, Montreal, and Toronto.
True.
And like those teams were real bad this year. So like that's basically 6 points for everybody above them.
Yeah. But, San Jose, Colorado, Houston, St. Louis, the Galaxy, Kansas City, they all had subpar years.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is all we had to do was be just about above average, and that was enough. It was in the West.
And we lost some of those teams that you guys mentioned too. Just ran through on both those lists, which I think contributes to that. So I guess before we move on to the in-depth preview, just like, okay, with your head or with your heart, however you want to, like, when we come back on, in 2 weeks, are we talking about Austin in the next round? And if it doesn't go, I don't know, like, what's just a prediction overall?
So we're jumping straight in with a prediction, are we?
Yeah, and then we'll back into why, but let's jump straight into the prediction.
Oh my goodness. Well, listen, it's LAFC. We can talk about all the weapons they possess. I think, you throw the 2 regular season meetings out the window. I don't think that matters. We actually won all 4 games against the LA teams this year, so we've done brilliantly in the regular season. But it's a 3 versus 6. If I'm looking for reasons for optimism from Austin's side, I do think there is a history of number 6 seeds actually upsetting the apple cart against number 3s. In fact, it happened in both conferences last year. What was it? New York City beat Cincinnati in 3 games. And in the West, actually, the number 6 seed beat the number 3 seed in 2 games. It was Minnesota over RSL. Now, both those games went to penalties. And I think this sounds crazy, but penalties may be a way that we get to the next round. I mean, literally, you don't have to win. A draw and winning a penalty shootout is enough in the playoffs, which is a little bizarre. I mean, you argue that the merits of that all you want, but I think if Austin can defend for their lives and find a way to win one of the road games on penalties, then they've got a shot. But everything has to go their way.
Our best player gets to go 5 times in a penalty shootout.
Yes.
That's got to be a dub for us. Like that's a clear advantage.
And I think that's one position on the field. You would say, well, how many players would you take from LAFC and put into Austin? And you would probably take most of them, wouldn't you? But I wouldn't change goalkeepers at all. I think Hugo Lloris may be a weak link for him. I mean, he's going to be 39 in
ancient.
In December. Yeah, I mean,
he may as well be bones out there. Nobody ask any of us how old we are.
He's had a few errors. I mean, he had a terrible error with his feet just in their final regular season game. So I think he can be got at. It seems strange to say a World Cup winner, maybe their weak link, but I would, and especially if it goes to penalties, absolutely. Take Stuver any day of the week.
So
Jeremiah,
Austin and 3. Austin and 3. That's what I heard Adrian say. Sorry,
yes.
Just to keep us on track.
Yeah.
Yes, with 2 penalty shootout wins. We lose the first one, win on penalties at home, go there and win on penalties. How's that?
Oh, nice. Jeremiah, what about you?
Okay, I'm convinced now. I was really ready to try to be super pragmatic and go LAFC in 3, but you know what? I'm in it. To Adrian's point, like this Nico Estevez team is built to win this kind of series. Like just do just enough. Like score just enough. Do enough dirty things on defense to get through. Leave it up to Stuver. I'll go Austin in 3 also.
Wow. I can't believe you guys.
What does that leave you, Mikey?
Right, exactly. So I had a whole argument planned out. Like people who know me know my brand, and it's really hard. But like I'm going with it anyway. Here's the deal. Ilie has never lost against a former club, and he's not starting in the playoffs. Like he is not starting to lose against his former clubs in the playoffs. This man is 9-0-1 against all his former clubs. We're winning in 2. We don't need 3 games.
Right.
Don't need 3. I like it.
We don't need 3 because Ilie's got it in 2, baby. Like, like on the real though, before we get too high on our own supply, this LAFC team is very, 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 very good. Like it should not be a knock against Austin if all 3 of us are wrong. Which is what, like, if I put on my Landon caught him boring but correct hat, I would say LAFC probably in 2. But he's not here. And so it's Austin in 2, baby. Ilie's undefeated. Let's go to an ad break before Landon crashes through the wall. Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by our friends at FVF Law, the official injury lawyers of Austin FC.
FVF is a different kind of personal injury law firm dedicated to community, transparency, and client education. And they have their own podcast called Summary Judgment that you can check out wherever you get your podcasts.
Did you see FVF Law again this week, Jeremiah?
I did not this week. I saw them last week. I saw them 3 weeks ago. You know what they're probably doing? Habitat for Humanity every year does this giant service project called the Carter Build. It's in Austin this year for the first time ever. And I'm almost willing to guarantee you that FVF is somewhere out there doing some part of building houses for people in need.
You can go to fbf.law to find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm and why understanding your legal options can dramatically change the outcome of a case. Once again, that's fbf.law. Amplify Credit Union is a member-owned financial cooperative that served the needs of Central Texans for over 5 decades. As a credit union, Amplify has no shareholders or parent companies. That means more of your money stays in the community.
Amplify has been the home of fee-free banking since 2022. Their free checking accounts come with 0 overdraft fees or minimum balance. That means Amplify's fee-free checking accounts help you get more mileage from your everyday spending.
Amplify membership is open to any Texas resident. Learn to trust your bank again at Amplify Credit Union. Go to www.goamplify.com. All right, we are back, and it's time to get into a little bit more of this LAFC series as a preview, rather than the highlights, which are that we're never losing again. We're the best team in the world. Ilie Sanchez is going to lead us to victory, and Brad Stuver is going to be there all along the way, right? So, Jeremiah, will you tell us some of the logistics of this totally normal, very standard playoff series that we should all already understand because it's so simple and normal?
That absolutely, of course, that makes so much sense. And I think this is this way with the entire MLS, particularly this round of the playoffs, which there's 1 game or 2 games or 4 games some days, unless it's a Saturday in which there are no games.
Yeah,
that
so
would make
normal.
Way too much sense.
So easy.
So yeah, game 1, this is going to be on Wednesday night, LAFC. This one's in LA, 9:30 p.m. Central. Game 2, the return trip to Austin, is on Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Central at Q2. And then game 3, if necessary, which is only going to be not necessary if Austin's already won the first 2, is actually on Saturday, November 8th at BMO. Okay, so we're not playing this Saturday, but we can play next Saturday.
That's right. Because there's no concert at BMO
Right.
Saturday, November 8th. But there was one last week, which is why we have to have it on a Wednesday this week.
Great. And then the winner of this series advances to face the winner of Vancouver versus FC Dallas, which will now we switch to the single round knockout for those of you that, wouldn't understand why we would change formats between the playoffs. And that one will either be the 22nd or 23rd. Yep. So, and I think we can probably expect that one to be Vancouver, which Austin has obviously done really great against this year.
Yeah. We won that one match at home, 0-0. We won that one. So that was one for us. We lost the other one, but we won't talk about that one. But we should talk about like where people can watch game one of LAFC versus Austin FC if they aren't flying to LA on a Wednesday night. The match is Wednesday, October 29th at 9:30 Central Time, 7:30 Pacific. But there are a couple of watch party options.
There are. So if you're a member of Los Verdes or just like watching soccer, member or not, one up north is Hop Squad Brewing, all ages, dog friendly, free parking, indoor screens, Yucatan tacos and more, food truck open until halftime, $5 beer during the party. Location 2 is Chalmers, Austin on the east side, all ages, on-site and street parking available, large screen, Discata and Rolling Smoke Barbecue. I think if I didn't live way closer to Hop Squad, and even though I do, I might, for the food, make the trip to the east side and watch party.
Yeah, those watch parties start at 8:30 Central Time with the kickoff at 9:30 Central Time. So get there early, get your food. The food trucks at the south location are only going to be open until 9 o'clock. So if you can't get there before kickoff, you might consider going to the Hop Squad watch party so that you can get Yucatan tacos and more, who will be open until halftime. So plan around your snacks is what I'm trying to say.
I must admit, gentlemen, I'm going to split the difference between North and South and go BD Riley's. Stay local in Mueller for that one. They show every Austin FC game, and given its later start time, I may take advantage of the proximity of BD.
That's walking distance for you, right?
And the fact that they do a great all day and night breakfast. So you can have bacon and eggs at 10 p.m. if you want.
There we go. Adrian's getting breakfast for dinner to celebrate the match. So, all right, let's talk about how LAFC is looking right now. Because I think if you maybe live under a rock and you just watched that game where they came to Austin and we beat them off some magic on the corner and Owen Wolf continuing to carry the club on its head on his shoulders, you might think this isn't so bad. But Jeremiah, they've had a pretty decent recent run of form.
Yes, they've won. I think it was 6 games in a row before that Austin loss. Tied Colorado at the end of the match. It really doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, the biggest difference from when Austin has seen them before, including this match, is like Denny Bouanga having an equally dangerous, maybe even more dangerous partner on the wing who's playing up top with, that is just like killing this league right now.
Yeah, well, it turns out when you bring in one of the best goal scorers on the face of the planet, it makes your team better. Adrian, like, from your perspective as someone who's covered the league a long time, has anyone as good as Son in his kind of window come to this league before?
Well, the closest I can relate it to, and I think they're kind of at a similar age, is when Thierry Henry came to the New York Red Bulls direct from Barcelona. I mean, he'd gone from Arsenal, gone to Barcelona, one of the things, and then I think in 2010 he came to the Red Bulls and was there, in his early to mid 30s, and just had a similar effect on that team. That's the kind of the closest sort of world star at that stage of his career. Ironically, with Henry, it took a little longer to have effect. He actually had a slow start, and then the next year is when it really took off. But Son has just hit the ground running, and it's been really, really fabulous watching the two of them play together. I mean, they just enjoy playing with each other so much.
I think that's been one of the most like heartbreaking things, right? Is just how cute and good they are together. Like they clearly have already become best friends.
Yeah.
There are like they're doing each other's goal celebrations, and they get so many opportunities to do it. They have scored 19 goals and 6 assists since August 9th together. They've been just absolutely dominating the league. 7 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws since Sun got here. Like it's been immediate. And this was a team who, when we were supposed to play them in July, we were pretty much at like similar stages in the table, similar like problems that we were having. We weren't able to figure out how to like get that final product across if our game plan wasn't working perfect. And man, what a difference it's been.
Yeah. And you know, to their credit and Steve Cherundolo and the rest of the team's credit, they've been able to figure out that the problem was that both of those players like to kind of play on the left and cut inside and do their best work, sort of cutting into the right foot for the left-hand side. They both had a long, successful history doing that, but they've kind of managed to figure a way to have them drift around, and Son has played more sort of on the right-hand side, but will still pop up on the left, and Bouanga down the middle sometimes. So they pose so many problems for opposing defenders that, I mean, it's stating the absolute bleeding obvious, isn't it? But Austin's defense are just going to have to be so good, that the very best version of themselves that we have seen at times this year deal with them. It's going to be fascinating to see what Nico Estevez does. Is it 3 centre backs to deal with them? Is it only 2? Is it a four-man back line? I don't know. Maybe we can get onto that. But you know, you've also got a great midfield behind them. That's the problem with LAFC. You got Mark Delgado, who's just been in the form of his life. Timothy Tillman has been great. Chouanier has come in and made a big difference. So that 3 right there is also plenty more to worry about from an Austin perspective.
Yeah. It seems like one of the kind of like opportunities for Austin to strike at this LAFC team has been kind of a weakness on set pieces, which we saw here in Austin. If like Jeremiah, how do you feel about this LAFC team as we come into this matchup?
Well, ignoring anything I said in the first segment of the show, like one of the things that the names, Adrian, just the names that you talk about, and like some of these guys that are playing part-time or even coming off the bench, and just the gap in just quality, like nothing, just athleticism and quality between LAFC. And it seems like, you know, not just Austin, but almost everybody else in the league, when you look at just like the talent and the execution and the way that they turn this roster over, they find guys from year to year. And it's one of these things where at the end of the year, like I'm a little surprised they only end up in third when they end up in third, and they're not like top 2 in the West every single year. So yeah, Austin's definitely got to be the best version of itself and like playing collectively as a team to be able to face up against what LAFC is able to do all throughout. Because other than this sort of like weakness on set pieces, there's not like anything in the form of play that they really seem to have a weakness on. And one of the things you talked about, Adrian, was like with, you know, Cherundolo maybe has this perception as being a little bit dogmatic, but he seems to be totally fine with adjusting this formation to fit his best players, which he should. So it doesn't give anybody a lot of hope that things may be very different or weak for LA.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking at a bench where they can pull a guy like Nathan Ordaz or Jeremy Obobisi, or depending on how they choose to line up, David Martinez or Andrew Morin, or like some of these Frankie Amaya would like walk into a lot of teams starting lineups, and here he is hanging out on the bench hoping he gets some minutes. So like it's just one of those situations where you're like, okay, cool. Yeah.
And I think Nico Estevez must look at that 3-man midfield and think, are we gonna have 3 men in the middle of the park in midfield? Is one of the key questions I have. Can we try and neutralize Delgado and Tillman and Chouanier? I mean, it takes a lot of doing. So that's why I'm really, really interested, particularly in this first leg in LA. how he sets us up to deal with that.
And I think that's a great transition to talk about how Austin has been looking recently and kind of what we might expect to see. So, Jeremiah, what do we got for Austin's recent form?
Well, I feel like I just had looked at the last 5, which is 1 win and 4 loss, but you went back in a few more games, and I forgot we did have a pretty decent run before then. So this is over the last, 12 matches, which is the Sun and Bouanga time. Austin has 5 win, 6 losses, and 2 draws. So from that longer term perspective, it's okay. It's just that the recent form has been pretty dreadful.
Yeah, and the reason I went back to that, right, is because, like, I think it can't be overstated how big a gut punch that final loss was, right?
Absolutely.
Particularly the way it happened, and like the fact that Austin looked like the better team all over the course of the full match and just had those 2 moments where things fell apart for them is just such a tough, bitter pill to swallow that clearly affected the end of that run, right?
Yeah. I think in terms of the Open Cup overall, I think, that let's call it dogged resiliency, shall we? That they demonstrated just to reach the final is what they have to tap into that. I mean, God, they could have gone out in the first round in El Paso and at home to El Paso, and they didn't. They found a way. They found a way in San Jose. They found a way in Minnesota. That sort of resiliency is going to be needed exponentially so against LAFC. But they clearly have it in them because they did produce it. And then the disappointing thing was in the final that they actually played. I thought, I don't know what you guys thought, I thought they played some of their best football of the season in that 25-minute period. After going behind for the rest of the first half, I thought they were great. It was an Austin I'd barely seen. And then you wanted them to kick on and take over in the second half, and it was just very flat. And I think you're right. It's taken them a long time to get over that, for sure.
Yeah. One of the other problems that we're having is not everyone's fully healthy, right? What's the latest that we've heard on that?
Well, so Nico in his presser this week said Bukhari said he's going toward being back or should be back. He was positive, but it still wasn't like 100% positive about him. And then he said with Diego Rubio, we're going week to week with Diego, which is a little bit concerning if you want. Although this maybe answers the question about what 11 you line up with, which goes back to how Landon was like last week trying to find a way to get Diego Rubio on the field. If he's not an option, I think that maybe gives you some more clarity around how Austin FC is going to line up and play against LAFC.
Yeah, I mean, Bukhari, if we have to go into this without Bukhari, I mean, to me, sometimes our attack seems to have been this season, let's just get the ball to Bukhari or Owen Wolf and hope they do something. And that seems to have been the plan. And so if you take away one of those options, it's not great from an attacking standpoint, but
it becomes wait until Jean Komenich and CJ sub in for like some magic in the 86th minute, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know that that's a successful, like, repeatable plan, but I've been wrong multiple times this season, so who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they scored both goals against LAFC came from corners. You mentioned it.
Yeah.
One early in the game in LA, one late in the return. But yeah, obviously, when you're preparing for a backs against the wall, I mean, let's be under no illusions. That's what this is going to be. It's going to be batten down the hatches. It's going to be deny, frustrate them, try and get them off their game, and take every opportunity to just zip forward when we can with the ball at the feet of Bukhari or Owen Wolf, and that has been the plan in many games this year, and they were. The question is which backline and midfield alignment gives us the best chance to do that, and that's. I tell you what, I'm going backwards and forwards, guys. I really am. I'm not sure. I'd be interested to get your input. What you think Nico will do?
Yeah, if I had to assume, I think away we would play that back five. And I think we would say, okay, LA, prove that you can break down a super annoying low block, right? And let's just sit in, let's hold it, let's really muck it up. Let's lay down every chance we get on top of the ball until we get yelled at for it, right? Like, and let's just see how many minutes we can eat playing the most miserable, like, version of a frustrating game that you could possibly watch to try and get it home, right? Where maybe we do something different. Maybe if Diego's more healthy, we can roll out a back four with him kind of in that 9.5 role that he likes to play so much. But like, whatever it is, if Bukhari's not like healthy and ready to play and ready to really put in a shift to relieve some of that pressure, I don't know. It's going to be
There's not many outlet balls, are there? But do you go with Ilie, Danny Pereira, and a third in the center? That's the thing I'm wrestling with, and it's tough to do if you're playing 5 at the back. But maybe the absence of Bukhari will lead us in that direction if he is indeed out. We're not saying he is. We hope he's not.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that Owen Wolf on the outside who like drifts into the middle to like help fill that the defensive responsibility that he doesn't mind doing. Right, like kid's got a battery like nobody else and does not mind stepping into a challenge here and there. And so like it's not the fun, cool, making the brilliant pass Owen Wolf that we would much prefer to be watching, but it is that like hard nose, gets the job done, like stick somebody in a tackle Owen Wolf that like sometimes we need. Jeremiah, what
so
about
Mike,
you?
No, I was going to say I'm gonna throw it to you. So if you have, let's just assume we have Bukhari, because I think that's more likely than not. Like, what's your 11?
Up front, we've got Owen nominally on the left wing, Izuni in the 9, and then Buka out on the right. God, in the back line, I think I'd probably want to see Jean out at left wing back, and Biru, BHI, and I guess Svatak. Yeah, like even though I think Djordjevic has like really come along, I think if we're gonna have Biru out there as our like nominal third center back, we need somebody really responsible to like help cover Brendan Heinzike when he's inevitably left alone. And then obviously Mikael Dessler like has to play on the right and combine with Buka when he can actually get him free.
Yeah, that right-hand side of the defense, I think, is Mikael Dessler needs to have the best night he's ever had in Osterjo, and he's had some good ones.
Yeah,
but he's going to be, given Bouanga and Son's natural tendency to drift over to that side, he is, for me, the key man. And then, with the 3 centre-backs, I think, as you just highlighted, Mike, I mean, the only question is, do you make Biru one of the centre-backs or play him at left-back and bring in, Svatok, Heinzike, and Djordjevic? And if that's the 3, Djordjevic is likely to be on the right-hand side of that 3. Is that correct? So he'd be the one closest to Dessler. I don't know. That would be asking a lot too.
Right. That's one of the things that like, man.
Yeah.
Talk about a trial by fire for a 21-year-old
There you go, 20-year-old.
kid.
In you go. You've had a good start, but
oh yeah, this guy who was a Golden Boot winner, like what, 2 years ago in the Prem, like he fix it. Like
go get him. Yeah. Mike, I mean, I would change to this seems like a great time, especially in the first match, to get a John Gallagher start at fullback. Like, he's not a world beater, but he's much less likely to have a complete mental lapse, and I feel like he can run in a way that maybe frees Owen up to come back a little bit. And it just feels like if you're just gonna play solid and cynical, like John Gallagher's your guy somewhere on the field, and I feel like with this lineup, like he's your left back, and then you can bring when it's 74 minutes in and it's 0-0, then you can bring Kolmanich on to lump balls at CJ's head and like maybe accidentally steal a victory. Like that's how it would line up with this club, at least for the first match in LA.
Yeah. That's I don't it's one of those situations where there's not a right or wrong in this case, right? And so I think ultimately whatever Nico decides, he's gonna have to ride with, and like we're gonna have to see the best version of whatever he picks to even stand a chance. So
absolutely. I mean, they have to play almost flawlessly.
Again, unless Ilie's out there, in which case it doesn't matter because the man can't lose. As long as Ilie's out there, we're good. But
right,
I mean, it's science, right? Like that's data.
Yep.
Can't argue with facts. Never lost.
He's never lost. So he's gonna score. He's gonna score PK. We're gonna get a new Continental Tire ad out of it.
That's right.
It's gonna be great.
Before we jinx this too much, do you want to take another ad break and then we can kind of look at the past 5 years of Austin FC history and maybe talk about any other kind of Austin FC news and information that we want to share with folks before the match?
Let's do it. Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by Sage Wilson Realty. The Sage Wilson team is made up of Austin experts who are client-focused and have over 30 years of a combined real estate experience.
If you or someone you know are in need of Sage Real Estate in Austin, talk to our friends at Sage Wilson Realty. Be sure to check them out online at sagewilson.com.
Our premier sponsor is McGuire Woods Consulting, helping clients in the public affairs space from lobbying at the local, statewide, and federal levels to digital and communications campaigns across the country.
McGuire Woods Consulting has offices in 10 MLS cities and is proud to support Moon Tower Soccer and support Austin FC. Why is that, Adrian?
Well, I mean, for McGuire Woods, I mean, it's the answer is obvious. It's the most educated listenership available in the podcasting world, the most fervent, the most passionate. You know, who wouldn't want to advertise here? Basically, I mean, reaching straight into the hearts and minds of all those malleable people who are just embracing anything Austin. So,
amen. Nailed it. Contact our friends at McGuire Woods Consulting at mwcllc.com for more information. All right, Jeremiah, what do we got for news? What do we got for Austin FC news?
Austin FC news. We have, let's go with basically two things. One on field. Brad Stuver, again, is named a finalist for the MLS Audi Goals Drive Progress Impact Award. This should be named after him at this point in time.
Like he needs to win it.
Who makes
first.
a bigger difference? Well, like he doesn't need to win it. We're just gonna he's like lifetime. We're gonna name the award after him because nobody else deserves to be on the same field with him when it comes to like what a difference he's making to the community. Okay, maybe win it first once, but it's good to see him nominated again.
Yes, yeah. Maybe this time we can actually take it home. Now that everyone started to know. Shout out to MLS and Apple TV for actually featuring all the good work that Brad does now that he's an all-star. So hopefully that helps push him over the top.
And then this off-field news stuff I was going to add is just Austin FC gets new investors. Now the club's supposedly worth around $900 million. Does the scoreboard math matter to y'all? Like, should we care? I guess it's better to be worth a lot than not a lot, but does it translate to anything on the field?
So far?
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's a number that seems to rise by 100 million every year, doesn't it? I mean, it's an eye-popping number. But yeah, I mean, it did translate into money being spent.
Yeah,
probably. But yeah.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed that keeps happening to actually have some results match up with that, right?
Right. I was just gonna, when you were talking about Brad Stuver's award, I was going to ask you guys: do you think this was his best season of the five? Just to get into the 5-year sort of journey
kick us
that
off with a spicy
Justin's
question.
been on. Do you think this has been his best year? Because I do. I think it's been his. I mean, to the eye test, just looking. But then I read some stat the other day that actually he was more important last year, or the XG minus the actual goals conceded suggested that last year
expected goals minus goals.
Just to my naked eye, he won us more points this year than I think he ever has. I don't know if you agree, but
I mean, for me, it's his most impactful year. I think 2022, like they were scoring goals left and right, and Sebastian Driussi had this magical season, and Diego was his best, and Brad was very good, but we didn't need him to be as great as Austin needed him to be that year. And then sure, he like saved us from finishing, I don't know, he saved us from wooden spoon territory or whatever, like the last couple of years. But I think in terms of impact, it would be this year. And I can't think of like a bad game he played, even when they gave up goals. Like a lot of the times when they gave up multiple goals, it was on defensive lapses really more than anything else, or just team goals. So like, I think it was his most important season. Yeah,
I think from a shot-stopping perspective, I know the stats say that he's had better years, 22, 23, I think 21 even was technically a better year for him in the like shot-stopping category. But I think his distribution has gotten better every year that he's been here. I think he's less prone to mistakes. One thing that like gives me pause, I think, is he had more like blocks this year than like catches. In like the past he would have caught a ball, and in this year he was like parrying them away. And I don't know enough about like advanced goalkeeping technique to know if that's like by design or if it's a change in philosophy or what that change might be attributable to. Mm-hmm. But it is something that jumped out to me, I think, as we got further along in the year, is that like some of those balls that he would have like made a diving catch for seemed this year to be parrying them away. Right. Like he's still parrying them mostly into non-dangerous places after, but I don't know.
Yeah. And for me, the world of soccer statistics is still kind of an embryonic one. And it doesn't, I wish there was a stat that said, that sort of illustrated how important a save was, because to me, that's what Stuver did this year. He made big saves that changed the course of games. I can think of numerous occasions. I'll give you two recent examples. The away win at Kansas City, where it's 1-1 and he makes two massive saves. Yeah. And instead of going down 2-1, we then go and win that game 2-1. Same at home to Seattle. Mm-hmm. So 6-point swings is what I'm talking about. And that doesn't always get reflected in just pure goalkeeping stats, does it? But I just felt he came up with many moments like that this year.
Yeah, it's very similar to that conversation we were having about Austin's overall record and the way that like those felt losses impacted our perception of the season so much more than the raw stats of a win or a loss, right?
Yeah.
Those individual moments that kind of like changed the course of the game for Brad, where like one of those things where you always expect it.
And let's face it, most of our games were so tight and goals were so scarce that it meant more this year, for sure.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, every save was so much more important this year in a year where we scored so few. I think it's a great question. I think it will likely have different answers depending on your personal affinity toward like how you watch soccer. But I would love to hear from our listeners. So like, let us know, get at us in like the show comments or Insta or wherever you engage with Moon Tower, and keep this conversation going. Now, is it time? Can we look back? Is it uncouth to look back at the past 5 years before this playoff experience is over? Or can we time box this in such a way that we protect ourselves from any sort of curse allegations by having a conversation like this? Adrian, I don't know what your availability is like, and so I don't want to take for granted that we might not get another chance, but I want to know from your perspective, like what the past 5 years has meant.
Yeah, it's been it's pretty wild to think about it. Half a decade we're into it. And the first year was just amazing in so many respects. Primarily not on the field, but everything else around it was just. But in some ways, I feel weird saying this because I'm then going to point out examples of other teams who've come in since who've started brilliantly, and I wish we'd done the same. Like you look at what San Diego done in their first year this year, and St. Louis did in their first year in 2023, but that was not us in 2021. However, everything in their city and the stadium and the fan base just made it almost not matter. Of course, it did matter, and then that was just brushed aside with just the phenomenal second year, which was just so amazing in so many different respects, and that made what then followed the next 2 years kind of all the more excruciating, knowing that we had so many of the pieces in place to have produced what we did in 2022. Not to follow that up was just that hurt even more than if we hadn't done much in 22, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and I think the ship has turned in a direction, a more positive one, perhaps not the one we ultimately hope it will be in. But the club is in rude health, and they still matter hugely in the city. The fan base has stuck by the team despite the 2 years prior to this one, which has been tremendous to see. And they're a fan base that deserve everything. They really do. So one of the interesting things, I'm waffling, so stop me if you want to make a point. But one of the interesting things for me that we haven't done is yet, talking about that fan base, is yet turn Q2 into a real solid home fortress. I mean, look at our home win total over the 5 years. I'll read them out. Got them in front of me. 7, 8, 7, 7, 7. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. We've only won 42% of home games over 5 years, which is really strange. It makes you wonder why. It's consistently been the case no matter what the team. Even in our brilliant year in 2022, we only won 8 at home.
I know now 2 coaches have mentioned how much the players want to deliver like home wins to the fans. I know the first time that was brought up with Josh Wolf, people were rankled by it, implying that, like, this is the fans' fault, right? But like,
he did have a way of didn't he?
Yes, yeah. When Nico brought it up this year, it was like, it was positioned in a much different way of like, they care so much about like giving the home fans what they want that like it's hard to live up to that emotion, right? And is that something, do y'all think there's truth to that? Or do you think that is a like we're trying to ascribe something to explain why this keeps happening?
Yeah, and I also think, from the opponent's perspective, we tend to get the best version of the opponents coming here because they come to Q2. They hit. I mean, this, we know how unusual this is around MLS. So I think it raises the game of opponents as well. Perhaps there's something to that. We want it too much, and they're inspired to produce their bests, and thus, the win record we have. But there has to be a way around it because LAFC have a great home crowd too and a great atmosphere, and they constantly win 10 or 11 games at home. That's what we need to do. We need to win double-figure games at home each season. 10 out of 17 is not too much to ask for, I think. But they got to solve it.
Yeah, Jeremiah, what do you think?
I don't buy it. I do think we have a great home crowd, and I do think that I'm sure that really it's Cam and Ryan writing these great quotes from these guys that come over to talk about how much they're excited to be in front of Austin FC and the home crowd. But I don't know. I find it hard to buy like a professional athlete trying too hard to impress his home fans, especially like people you played in front of, six, seven times like ever in your life. Like there has to, I think to Adrian's point, there's got to be some way to, I don't know how you make it more intimidating. I don't know if that's right. I don't want to become Philadelphia where we're like throwing batteries at players, but it's like, I don't know. I agree. The atmosphere is great, and I'm surprised that we don't get better results out of it.
Yeah, and I don't want to see us become like a hateful fan base toward opponents, right? I think one of the best things about Austin is how people can like come here from different places and have a good time in our city, and like we all love soccer, but like there has to be a way to like channel that into a place where opponents don't want to play. One of the things that we have heard is that they intentionally built the locker rooms at Q2 to be nice for away fans as well, or for away teams as well. And then we see all these pictures of away locker rooms that our boys have won in, and it's like the worst room you've ever seen in your life. Like, I had to share a college dorm with 6 other boys once, and that room, like, was nicer than some of these away locker rooms, right? And so, like, there has to be a way that we can, as a club, make the experience worse for some of these visiting teams that isn't on the fans to do, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Turning off the hot water supply in the visiting locker rooms,
like,
and
knocking out a couple of the light bulbs. I don't know, like give them an old CRT TV, like on a cart or whatever that they have to watch film on. Like, make it feel bad to be in there. Like, leave some lunch like in the air vents. I don't know, like figure it out.
Well, Mike, you mentioned the 2 coaches, Adrian. I think my question for you next would be, okay, so I think we all agreed 2024, at the end of 2024, it was time to turn the page. Like, this is probably like thinking too far ahead since the playoffs haven't happened, but like, what were you expecting when Nico Estevez came in to coach this club? And like, do you feel he's lived up to those expectations, exceeded them, not there yet? Like, where's your head on this?
Yeah, I had conflicting thoughts on it when it was announced. I think, like most of the Austin fan base, we'd been led to believe it might have been a much bigger name. So that was
one we wouldn't believe.
Yes,
which was true.
Names you wouldn't believe. Yeah, exactly. But then when I got over that initial disappointment, I was like, well, this is a guy who actually turned a pretty bad Dallas team around and turned them into contenders, and was actually only overshadowed by our great season in 2022, what he did in Dallas. And then he had another pretty good year in 23, and then it all went off the rails. So I was like, yeah, he probably deserves another chance. I'd rather he wasn't coming from our in-state bitter rivals, but not going to hold that against him. It's not like he's from Dallas. Couldn't be further from the truth. So yeah, I came in with an open mind, hoping also once the purse strings got opened that he would, he would completely turn the page. But of course, I was forgetting that his track record was very much defensively focused and orientated. And I think, to be fair to him, that almost, despite the money spent at the other end of the field, that almost had to be priority number 1 for him, sorting out what was going on defensively that had been creaking a lot under the previous administration. So I don't blame him, but I think at times it came at the cost of what was happening at the other end of the field. And also, to be fair to him, and we've talked about this ad infinitum ever since all the signings were made, but still a key piece to the puzzle that hasn't been addressed. an attacking midfielder, a creative midfielder, and so he had to kind of work with what he had, and I think he's done a fair to middling job, and that's been kind of my assessment the whole season. It's fair to middling. I mean, we if you look at the overall picture, we finished 15th out of 30 in the Shield standings, combining the two conferences. We couldn't be more middle of the road if we tried. But that is an improvement from the previous 2 years. We can't say in any way that it's not. It is. So, but to me now, no matter what happens in the playoffs, well, actually, I should temper that, because obviously if we go on an amazing run like the Red Bulls and reach MLS Cup, hey, they were the number 7 seeds last year and did it. So if they go on a run like that, then obviously all bets are off. But to me, he needs to take another step forward at the other end of the pitch in the first half of next season for everyone to be totally comfortable with the direction we're heading in.
So one of the questions I want to follow up on that is, like, at the start of the year when Nico was hired, a lot of people talked about his FC Dallas tenure and like his relationship with the Greg Berhalter tree of coaching, right? And one of the things that I was hopeful for was to see some of the like Valencia DNA from when he was a Valencia assistant coach and a B team coach, and for a little bit the interim coach, right? Adrian, you covered Valencia with ESPN and La Liga, and do you see any of that DNA in the way that Austin plays, like a Timu version of any of those core principles of play that Valencia has held so strongly for so long?
Yeah, not so much in the last couple of years. They've had a rough couple of years, Valencia. Yeah. But no, the Valencia teams of lore of old, even dating back to David Villa's days, were always. They did have is that defending with a knife between their teeth. From the Ruben Baraja type era, where it was just nothing was going to get past those guys. They had that. So I do see some elements of that in what he's doing. But they also had dynamic front runners and creative midfielders, and wide play was very important. I mean, David Villa being serviced by Joaquin was just a thrilling part of what Valencia did for many, many years. And so I haven't seen that. So he's kind of got half the DNA in place. Some of the defensive midfield aspects of what Valencia always try and do, but in terms of the pure adrenaline rush of wing play and just a brilliant front line as well, exciting and dynamic. We've not seen that obviously yet, but
because like when we looked at the signings, right, that was my first thought, is we've got a guy with a motor like Azuni has, who just will not stop running, and if he's going to be out left, and we've got Buka on the right, like this could be the trappings of the MLS version of a Valencia team. Obviously we haven't seen that come to pass. But like, is that a Nico failing? Is that a like signings failing, right? Like, where I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens in the off season and what gets brought in and what doesn't. But like, I was hopeful that we would see some of that Valencia stuff start to come about, and to hear the reminder about just how defensively solid that team was does give me like continued hopium for the future, right?
That was always a Valencia hallmark. You are going to have to beat us. You're going to have to find a way through our defense. You know that's going to be solid. So I do see that. Yeah, the Azuni one's an odd one, because I had similar feelings. I was like, well, when they signed Azuni and Vasquez, I'm like, well, they can't sign two DPs and not play them, so Azuni almost has to go on the left. That didn't really work. But that, you look at, again, I go back to what he did in the Spanish second division, and he was a player that thrived on the shoulder of the last defender, just combining with an attacking midfield player. little combination passes and being slipped in behind the fence. That's his game. That's how he got nearly every goal he scored in Spain. You go back and look at his reels, and just, again, not Nico's fault, but the signings we made, it just, it was almost like we needed one of them to be signed and then something else, but they signed them both, and then they said, Nico, make of it what you will. And I guess that's where we're at right now. It'd be very interesting to see what happens next, because we have 3 DPs, but we need one or two very key pieces to fully implement, I think, that DNA you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to have you back when we get into the offseason, have you back on to kind of talk through like what you expect for that. I think one question that I had for you to go way back. Okay, so every once in a while I get out my 2020 Austin FC Holiday album, which is a 1-track album featuring Adrian Healey talking about a team that hasn't played a game yet. I think there's like the stadium. I think we had 2 players. Like, how did you feel about making that? Like, whose idea was that to come to you and like cut a track about a team that didn't really exist? How did that happen?
Well, I was delighted because having been in many of the bands that Mike and I previously discussed, cover bands or punk rock bands or whatever, I was always in bands in my youth, and I never got to commit anything to vinyl, playing my guitar. So to finally get on vinyl, albeit just as a voice, was a thrill. I think that was the original marketing guru James Ruth's idea. He came to me at some point where at some point where I was on board but hadn't yet moved to Austin. So it would have been that fall of 2020. He's like, "Hey, we're doing a holiday record. Would you fancy putting down the voice track for it, seeing you're going to be the voice?" So of course I was delighted to. I think that's what it was, wasn't it? Wasn't it just like a Christmas celebration, hootenanny holiday celebration? Here's to all the Verde goals we'll be celebrating together, and little did we know what was quite coming in year one. But yeah,
it was a very hopeful one. I liked it.
Yeah. Yes. I think I have to credit marketing guru James Ruth, who's now doing great work with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, by the way, who are riding high in the NFL. So he sprang on from Austin to good things.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I want to like pick your brain about as someone who has been around soccer for so long is like, have you had experience with teams who were new like this before, and what are some of the things that we can like tell our fans to think about as the club keeps growing and as the years keep rolling on? Like, how do we keep this fresh and good and make it better and like continue to elevate our in-game experience, our home, and just continue to fall in love with the game for folks who may be new?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I think some MLS, let's not call them franchises, I hate the word, but some MLS teams have done a really good job with that and some haven't. I mean, I think so much of it depends on the local situation, and that's what gives me hope about Austin, is that it is still shining through like a beacon 5 years in, even though that success has been hard to attain. It's been few and far between. The fan base for the most part has stuck with us. Yes, we've seen a few empty seats, but the hardcore base is still, in my mind, totally there. I think the club just has to continue to do everything it can to be a part of the community. It's something the individual players have done really well. At times, I feel the club could have done a much better job with that, particularly early on. I felt at times they operated in a bit of a detached fashion instead of truly integrating into the community and just being at everything and being a constant figure everywhere and just doing everything they can. I mean, I think back to that playoff rally we had Schultz Garden at the end of 2022, and what an amazing coming together that was. And obviously making the playoffs is a big deal, but I think the club should look to do more stuff in the city centre, in different parts of the town, of the city. Just any opportunity to integrate fans, because it's very easy to become detached and removed, and particularly when the club is in the geographic place that it is, and it's split into two. It's tough for them because they're split into two operations. You got the soccer operation, which is at St David's, and then you got the business operation, which is up in the north. And that is something I believe has hampered them in the first 5 years. And there's not much they can do about that. But I just think they have to take every opportunity to be a fully fledged part of this amazing community, because it can go away. I mean, we've seen it happen. I mean, Atlanta United, do they mean as much in that city as they did in 2017, 2018 when they had that amazing team under Tata Martino? I'm not there. I'm not on the ground, but I went there plenty of times in that era, and I suspect they don't mean as much at the moment. So things can fall off. Obviously, it helps to be successful on the pitch, but even if you're not, just making yourself just such an irreplaceable part of the community is something that you can never stop doing and working on. So I hope, I know the club know all of this and think it, but it's just putting it into place,
Yeah, I think from the outside, not only is like a player like Brad Stuver really important to the club on the field, but it seems like by extending a guy like that, you're saying that like this type of player who is so involved in the community is like a model for how we want to see our guys become, right? And you can see the work that like Danny Pereira has done with starting his nonprofit. And like, I think this must be the type of thing that like the club is pushing by bringing a guy like Ilie in, who everywhere he's been has been renowned for that type of thing. Right. So hopefully as we continue to grow and as leadership inside the club, comes and goes, that's something that stays important from a club perspective.
And and Austin's a culturally thriving, dynamic city. There's always a lot going on, so there's a lot of competition. So as entertaining as they can be on the field, the better. I don't say that flippantly. It's winning is great, but also kind of the aspect of a show is something that the city would lap up. So I'd love to see them.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, I love the when we get to see the personality, like the stories on social media and everywhere of like Danny and Brad to an extent too. And like I wish we got more of that, because I feel like these guys are good dudes, and like you shouldn't really worry about putting a camera in front of them, because they're not gonna say anything bad, and they're probably gonna be entertaining. So like I do wish that was one thing that there's a push to get more of, is every time I see that like humanizing content from the club that features the players, like I like it all, and I just can never get enough.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that, to be honest, was a big frustration for both myself and Michael Lahoud in the first 2 years, was we wanted to do a lot of that, and it just for whatever internal dynamic political reasons, it didn't happen. We first year was tough because we were still struggling with the COVID aftermath, etc., and access wasn't what it might have been. But I think it's taken the club a long time to kind of pivot around to exactly what you're talking about, Jeremiah. It's just how important that is, and I feel like they haven't done that to the degree they should have done.
All right, JP. I could keep talking.
Sorry, I didn't mean to just stop there and provide silence.
I was gonna say I could keep talking all night. I know I have got to edit this show. Jeremiah, do we have a final, like a last question for Adrian so that we can get him out of here with respect to his time and like our listeners?
Well, I touched on this, but like I would love to take a deep dive into the off season once this is officially over, and hopefully this is months from now. But what are you doing like in December when free agency and all that kind of stuff opens up? And can we have you back on to chat about like our expectations into 2026? And one, how we can see the roster change, and then two, I would be like you touched on sort of what we should expect out of Nico next year, and I'd love to get into that when we're a little bit more informed about the pieces he's going to have.
Yeah. So what date is MLS Cup final? Because obviously that
that's our last.
We're going to be in there. It's our final game.
Right.
So if that's December 9th, let's So December 10th, it's a date.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, Adrian, do you have any closing thoughts before we send you home here for the night?
Just to again to savor this moment. We're back in the playoffs. I remember saying this pretty much in 2022, and just stuff like this doesn't come along that often. It's going to be a big few nights against LAFC, and no matter which way it goes, it's just savor the fact that we've made progress, that we're battling with one of the elite teams in the league, and hopefully are going to go toe to toe with them. So enjoy every minute, and if we're out at the end of it, and then so be it. It's still been a successful season. So I'd love to see the home game just be thunderously loud. I would just like it to be that Sunday night for the second game of the series against LAFC to be the best crowd night ever. And there's been some great ones, so it's going to have to go some to beat some of the previous nights. But my memory, honestly, my best crowd memory ever of these first 5 years was that home game against LAFC in the regular season in 2022 on a Friday night when we beat them 4-1. And Michael and I got to do the heartbeat in front of the fans that night, and that night was just magical in so many ways. And I would love to see that repeated on Sunday, the whatever it is, the second game.
That reminds me, this is a Sunday night match. When it's home. Do either of you know our record this year in Sunday games?
Ooh, wow! How many was I there for? San Diego was a Sunday. I was there for that, and that was a win. What else was a Sunday? Seattle was a home game on a Sunday. That was a win. I'm starting to suspect it may be favorable, Mike. Am I right?
We are 5-0-0 on Sundays.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So we got Sunday magic. We got Ilie magic. Boys, my hype meter is through the roof. It's too late. I tried to be Landon. Somebody had to be. I can't be him. Text him and tell him it's his fault that he went to Japan instead of like reining the three of us in here. But thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoy the content that we make, please go to patreon.com/moontowersoccer. We love to do this. We would do it if we had no patrons. It's a lot easier to do it when we do have patrons. It's like a good reminder that like y'all appreciate what we do. There's still some merch to be had for our donors. Rate, review the show. Tell your friends. Tell anyone. Tell a stranger on the street, because like we don't necessarily need your money to do this, but we do need your ears. Otherwise, like we're talking to ourselves, and we could do that over a pint.
Right.
Let us know how you like the show. Tell your friends. Reach out to us on socials, wherever you're on social. Find us. And yeah, we'll talk to you next week. What will we talk about next week, Jeremiah?
Well, we're going to review some playoff matches. Hopefully, maybe preview some playoff. No, we're going to preview some playoff matches because it's either going to be a game 3 or it's going to be the second round match.
Right.
And talk about anything else that comes up.
All right. Until then, I'm Mike Cragnola.
I'm Jeremiah Bentley.
And I'm Adrian Healey. Thanks, guys. That was a treat.
Time.
Yeah.
when no one is around.
Think for nothing, you never.
La gente, oh my God.